You ever meet someone who survives purely on being miserable and making everyone else miserable too? Well, imagine being stuck with that person for 13-hour shifts, day after day, while they nitpick your every move. And on my last day at that job, I decided I wasn't leaving quietly. Let's just say her beloved barista-style coffee tasted a little different after I walked out the door. If you've ever had that one coworker who pushes you right to the edge, the snide comments, the passive-aggressive digs, then hit that like button, subscribe, and buckle up. Because this is one of the pettiest, funniest, and most satisfying revenge stories I've ever told. I used to work at a job where the hours weren't just long, they were brutal. 13-hour shifts, constantly on your feet, nonstop pressure. The kind of job where coffee isn't a luxury, it's survival fuel. And in the middle of all that exhaustion and chaos, there was her. Let's call her Carla. Carla was the kind of coworker who didn't just rub you the wrong way. She felt like sandpaper on your soul. She spoke in a voice that always sounded sweet on the surface, but every sentence was dipped in poison. You'd do something simple, like organize supplies, and she'd walk by with that fake smile and say, "Oh, cute. You're trying to help. I mean, not how we usually do it, but good for you." Backhanded compliments were her love language. Passive aggression was her personality. And she didn't just target me. She spread her misery like it was part of the job description. Every shift with her felt like I was trapped in a slow-motion hostage situation. If I grabbed a snack, "Wow, hungry today, huh? Must be nice to take breaks." If the boss complimented me, "Oh, wow, look at you. Don't let it go to your head." If I laughed at a joke, "Must be nice having time to socialize." Her tone wasn't openly hostile. That would have been easier. Instead, she attacked with this smug, subtle superiority, a constant drizzle of negativity that soaked into everything. Most of us tried to ignore her, but being stuck together for 13 hours at a time, that wears you down. And the worst part? She never got consequences. Management didn't care. She acted different around them. Fake professional, overly polite. So nothing ever changed. Months went by. More digs, more snide remarks, more whispered comments loud enough for me to hear. But I wasn't the kind of person who causes drama. I stayed quiet. I stayed patient. I stayed professional. Until the day I finally snapped. Not outwardly, but internally. I had already decided to quit the job for unrelated reasons. Exhaustion, burnout, and honestly, partly because of her. And when I submitted my notice, something clicked in my head. A slow, satisfying realization. I don't have to put up with her anymore. And immediately after that came another thought. But before I leave, I can leave her a little gift. Not something that would get me in trouble. Not something that would hurt anyone. Just a harmless, perfectly petty piece of poetic justice. A little reminder that people like her don't get to walk all over people without the universe, or me, nudging them back. Everyone at the job lived off caffeine, coffee, energy drinks, anything with enough kick to keep us upright. But Carla, she was obsessed with one particular thing. Barista-style instant coffee. Specifically Nescafe Azera, the fancy stuff in the orange tin. She treated that jar like it was some sacred artifact. She'd hide it behind other containers so no one accidentally borrowed it. She'd talk about it like she was giving a TED Talk on premium instant coffee. Sometimes she'd even sigh, dramatically as she stirred it, whispering, "This is the only good thing in this place." And that's when the idea hit me. Her coffee wasn't just her weakness. It was her Achilles heel. I wanted revenge that was harmless, hilarious, subtle, and deeply, deeply satisfying, nothing destructive. Nothing career-ending, just something to knock her off her pedestal. And then I remembered something at home. A jar of Bisto Best Instant Beef Gravy granules. And here's the funny part. If you haven't seen them before, gravy granules look almost identical to certain instant coffees. Same graininess, same texture, same color, same dry, powdery consistency. They even smell faintly savory, but if mixed into coffee, well, it would be noticeable pretty fast. So the night before my last shift, I held the coffee jar and the gravy jar next to each other and thought, this is perfect, absolutely perfect. On my final day, I walked through those doors with my head held high and a jar of instant gravy hidden snugly in my bag. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't guilty. I wasn't second-guessing myself. In fact, I felt lighter than I had in months. During break, when the staff room was empty, I casually approached the shelf where the coffee lived. There it was, her special jar, her precious lifeline. I popped the lid open. I could almost hear dramatic music playing in my head. Half the coffee, right into the bin. Gone. No survivors. Then I opened the gravy jar. A warm, beefy aroma rose up. But I wasn't worried. I knew the coffee powder would mask it perfectly. I poured until the jar was half coffee, half gravy. Then I shook it gently, then harder. I mixed the gravy powder until it looked exactly like her precious brown coffee blend. Screwed the lid back on, placed it in the same spot, and walked out feeling like a silent villain who finally got justice. Shift smooth guzri, logon ne hug kia, good luck bola. Even Carla gave me her fake smile and said, some people just can't handle pressure. I smiled back, knowing her next cup of premium coffee was going to taste like Sunday roast. I didn't see the moment of chaos, but 2 days later, a coworker texted me, dude, she took one sip and screamed, of me, it's Fing gravy. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my phone. She spent the whole week complaining the company had changed the formula. Revenge wasn't loud or messy, just perfectly petty. For once, she tasted the bitterness she'd been serving everyone else. She had to swallow her own behavior, literally and metaphorically. And me? I walked away clean. No drama, no confrontation. Just the beautiful memory of her yelling about beef gravy in her beloved coffee. Even 10 years later, that moment still gives me a warm, satisfying glow. Sometimes revenge doesn't need to be big. Sometimes the tiniest, funniest hit of karma stays with you the longest. If this story made you laugh, hit like and subscribe, and tell me, what's the pettiest revenge you've ever seen?